Okay, Boker Tov, everybody. Um, as usual, but it's not usual. Today we learned Lili Nishmat Aviter Chai Avram Ben Rachel Leah and Mer Tzvi, but tonight is yard site. 5 years. Wow. Shama Shev and Aliyah, and all are learning today and tomorrow should be Lili Nishmat Tov. Welcome back home. We've been here for almost 5 years now, I guess, doing this year. Wow, it's also we started like a week or two after Shiva, or maybe something like that. And we accomplished Baruch Hashem quite a bit. You know, almost Sharim, 4.5 chapters of 6 chapters of Pirke Avot, and still plenty to go. Baruch Hashem. I think at the rate we're going, we'll probably have 2 more years on Pirke Avot. That's good. That's good. It's good stuff. Yeah. What's that? Start planning the same. That's right. Well, we had big plans for the Siyum for the Ramchal. We were going to go up to Tveria, where we're going to go, and yeah. When things calm down, we'll still have to do that. Yeah, and then we'll have to go to the kever of every rabbi that's in the Pirke Avot for the Siyum. It'll be a long day. I'm sure. Okay, so let's okay. Yes, we talked about that actually.
The plan was that we were going to have
a guided tour for and learn the last little bit of
2 biggies.
Yeah, we'll still take care. Bezrat Hashem. I hope we all had a good Yom Ha'atzmaut, and it's quiet, relatively speaking. And we're going to continue now. We're in chapter 4 of Pirkei Avot. We're on a Mishnah that could be number 12, 13, 14 in your book. It starts Elazar ben Shambua Omer. We already did part of this. There are 3 statements he makes, and we did one. We're going to talk about the next 2. So again, Rabbi Elazar ben Shambua Omer, Yehi chavod tamidcha or tamidach chaviv alecha kishalach, or it could be shalcha, depends on your printing. May the honor of your student be equivalent to your own personal honor, like you would like to have yourself be honored. You should be careful in the way you honor your student and treat them. And the honor you give to your friend should be like the honor you give to your Rav. And the honor you give to your Rav should be like that if you give to Hashem. Now, we talked about this already a little bit last time. It's kind of sounds like it's an overreach. Like, you know, I have a Rav, you know, I'm taking this course. I think some of you know I'm taking this course for learning how to deal with halachically the end of life issues. And it started a couple of weeks ago. It goes until late June, early July. It's unbelievable. Every 5.5-hour class is the equivalent, literally probably 10 hours of information because they go so fast because there's so much to cover. He says to really do this class, it should be 150 hours. So we're doing 70. So in any case, there's one slide that one of the rabbis put up on the board, and it's quoting a Rav Gimel Aleph Rabinovich. I said, wait a minute, that's my Rebbe, Gedalia Rabinovich. He was one of the first in Chicago, gave smicha, and he's been living here in Israel for many, many years in Ramat Shlomo. And here he was one of the first people to write a paper on the halachic definition of death, which is brain death versus heart. And it's like so I happened to call my chavruta, who I've learned with for many, many years, and we got smicha together, Lenny. And I told him, he said, you got to send him a note to tell him, but give him some nachas. I said, he'll finally get some nachas from us. You know? So I have a note to write him today. But he's my Rebbe, right? What am I supposed to treat him like you will give him the kavod I would give to Hashem? No, how can that be? That doesn't make sense. We're going to come to that. We're also going to talk now about the idea, what does it mean that the kavod you give to, let me put it up here on the screen, your friend. You have to be careful with your friend because it also has here, let me just put it here just a minute. Something else. Can I have your copy for a second? I want to see something. Okay. What's it you want? Okay. Here. 39. Oh, you see which mission? It's right here. This one. Use the Tetvav in your printing. Okay. You also have to be careful in the way that you not only just treat your friend, but also being careful not to disgrace your friend or to make fun of your friend. Obviously, anybody, but it tends to be you're more lax with people you're familiar with than you are with people you don't know. We also treat people sometimes better than people that we don't know than we do. Example, some people will be overly nice to somebody who whatever it might be in a store, and then the same, and then it's your brother or your sister or your child or your that's not your friend. Some of your friend. Forget your family first. Don't forget your family. You know what I mean? Your friend. You may not be the same cheerful self. It's just different. So you have to be also very careful at what's called miklon chaviro, like not to hurt your friend. So there's a lot of halacha involved in this. It's not just have to give the proper respect. The opposite also is also true. When it comes to Shabbat, for example, we have Zachor of Shema, we have Lo Taseh, we have things you're not allowed to do, and things that are Aseh, Mitzvot Taseh, like Kiddush, that you're supposed to do. So it's what they call two sides of the same coin. It's not just you have to give proper respect, you also have to be careful not to go the other direction and embarrass your friend and be like almost happy by your friend disgrace. So how serious is it when I use the word disgrace, I'm not saying necessarily public humility, but just not giving the proper respect that maybe your friend should have. It's not that you're disregarding the person or causing them some embarrassment, but it's you're enjoying it. You're almost getting pleasure out of it. Like, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Schadenfreude. You know the word? It's German, obviously. Yeah. Okay, Schadenfreude means, let's say, for example, it's getting joy out of someone else's pain or misery because magia lehem. They deserved it. So if you ever seen any of these videos of instant karma, the guy cuts somebody off and then a policeman happens to be right there and pulls him over and gives the ticket, like, yes, that's Schadenfreude also. You're getting like some pleasure out of someone else's misery. That guy's got to go to court now. So there's a halacha I want to mention that is not well known. Unfortunately, it's mentioned in the Rambam, it's mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch. I'll read it to you. It's one line. Yizaher shelo lechanot shem ra lechavero. You have to be careful not to call your friend a nickname, a bad nickname. I'll explain what that means. Even though he's used to it. Im kavanato levaisho. So if his purpose is doing that is to cause him embarrassment, you're not allowed to do that. So the Shulchan Aruch in Choshen Mishpat starts off with a general statement and qualifies it. It's not that you can't call your friend a nickname. It has to be a nickname that's not nice. And also even though he's used to it, but your purpose of calling that nickname is you want to embarrass him. That's a very general, very specific. There's a more general in the Rambam, it's a little bit different. At least not the word ra. Let's say, for example, I call someone with glasses Four Eyes. It's a common nickname. Or someone who's very tall, I call him Shorty. I worked with some guy. Some of I know that I worked director of purchasing for many years at a manufacturer. And there was a shop, manufacturing. Okay, I get the message. There was a manufacturer with 90 employees, whatever it was. And they all had different nicknames for each other. One guy was this tall, was very short, but they didn't call him Shorty. There's a different guy who was tall. They call him Shorty. What did they call this guy? They called him Pig. That was his nickname, Pig. He was short, Pig, P-I-G, Chazer. He was short, very round, and one day he came in, and his teeth were all with not braces. They were wired. His jaw was wired shut. Like, what happened? Thought maybe he's trying to lose weight. He got in a bar fight, and he got his jaw broken. Pig went from being a nice sized individual to he was whatever, and then he got skinny, but they still called him Pig. And like, how do you go through life with someone letting you call you Pig? He actually liked it. Well, he said it out loud. That's right. But actually, the kind of person who he was, he probably did like it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I knew guys who would say, I learned the expression to drink your paycheck. I learned that at work too. They go home and get their paycheck, and then they go to the bar and have 48 beers over the weekend. And, that was a different story. Those are the other guys. Okay, so let's talk about for just a minute, because it's important. It's halacha that's not as well known. Calling somebody a nickname that they don't like is asur midoraita. It's prohibited from the Torah because it's considered lo tonu et achicha. You're not lo tonu. You're not allowed to. What's the word in English? Not just embarrass. It's more
Like
than
mock.
mock. Yeah, but lehonot means to cause someone pain, but that's not really the right word. That's different. That's a different word too. I'll think of it. What's that? Denigrate? No, it's because it's more general of a word. I have to think about it. Hon is property, and lehonot is okay. It'll come to me. Anyways, so I'll give you a personal example. I used to call my sister Shorty. She's like 4 foot nothing. Or I'd say stuff like, "How's the weather down there?" When we're growing up, as brothers and sisters do. I'd put my arm on her head. "How you doing down there?" And then I learned this halacha. I mean, I was already, sort of an adult, I guess, at the time, probably my early 20s. I said, "Oh." So I went, I apologized to her. I said, "I won't call you that again." She didn't like it. Okay. So even if you call somebody a nickname that if you call somebody a nickname they don't like, it's already a sword. If you call someone a nickname they couldn't care less, but it's ra, it's like you use a word that really is not appropriate, and you call that person that, and they couldn't care less. It's also not appropriate called Shulchan Aruch. It's asur, and it's not just it's not so nice, but it's asur midoraita. And according to the Shulchan Aruch, it has to be also you're doing it levaisho, to embarrass the person. But in any case, why is that so important? Why is it so strict? First of all, because it's tzelem Elokim. Okay, we're all created in the image of God, and it's Keilu. You're also saying something about. Imagine for a moment you made something. You painted. You made a psifas, mosaic, or you whatever it is. You got a new piece of clothing. No, you made a piece. You sewed something beautiful, right? And someone says to you, even if it's you still, unless they want your honest opinion to how to improve. Okay, you're teaching somebody, but you don't go because you make that person feel bad, right? So we're not allowed to do that. There's, matter of fact, the opposite is true. Two things. If somebody says, "What do you think of my painting?" and you think it's you're not really allowed, unless they want you to be brutally honest because they want to improve. You should say, you can't say, "Oh my gosh, it's the most beautiful painting. You're like a Picasso," but you could say, "Oh, very nice," even if not, because you don't want to hurt the person. There's another halacha, which is also unknown, not just relatively, it's unknown. If you come to give me some news, let's say you come to say, so-and-so just got engaged, and I already know, I'm supposed to say, "Oh, mazel tov," not let on that I know. Because that person gets joy, and I took that joy away. Say, "Yeah, I know." Right? So these are little things, but it's important to understand them in the context of this Mishnah. Because how would you feel? You can only give someone this unbelievable news. So-and-so just got get. What do you mean? "Oh, you knew already." So I think that it's fleeting, I know. But it's even that's how careful the Torah is about wanting to respect a person's feelings, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally and spiritually, even al kedei kach. So this kind of person who gets pleasure almost out of somebody else's I never get this word, disenfranchisement. 6 syllables, I think, is they don't understand how to recognize what kindness is in the first place. The person in front of them may be more like an object, because if I took this glass of water, and I would do it, don't worry, like I smashed the glass, first I damaged something, but it's not like the glass has feelings, like it's going to feel bad. I'll feel bad, or they'll feel bad that I broke the glass. But the glass itself, but people have feelings. And when you start to cause somebody else even the slightest amount of pain or emotional problem, you've done some damage. And
if you don't compliment the person,
calling the girl.
they feel that they should get a compliment. I'm thinking of a case where someone takes the omelet,
Okay.
and you really don't think you did a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He may feel, or she may.
Depends where you're dabbing. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
But they did a good job, and if they don't get the compliment,
It bothers them.
it probably would bother them.
Question, I think I would maybe date your question a little bit. I'd say, should you say yeshikoch to somebody who davened poorly, like went for the omelet? Is that because that encourages them?
What yeshikoch means. I mean,
right. Right.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. If
Right.
you encourage someone, say, hey, what a great job.
So, right.
And they're embarrassing themselves.
Right. So I will tell you in the situation that I've seen over the years in different shoals, I'll tell you what the right course of action theoretically should be. So-and-so comes obviously. I'm just if it, especially with an Avel, and they are going to go to the Amud a lot to be the Chazan, and they don't know how to pronounce words. By the way, halachically, they're not allowed to daven for the Amud. Okay, but that's a different story. That's a different story. But let's say they mess up or they mumble a lot, whatever it might be. If it's a person you're close to, and you can say something in a nice way, you should say something directly. However, most cases it's not like that. Most cases you have people who either complain about it or yell out what they should have said and publicly embarrass the person. Another isur d'oraita, another way of just getting yourself another big X on the big old chart, Shemayim. You can go to a gabbai, you can go to the Rav, and say, and I've had this personally situation where I won't say which country it was or which shul it was. There was someone who's an Avel, and he davened okay, but there's a certain pace every shul has. Some are faster, some are slower. Imagine someone getting up at the 6 o'clock minyan at the up shul and davening very slowly. They'll slaughter, right? Or or someone who's davening very fast in a minyan that goes in a nice pace, decent slower pace. So we had a guy, one shul that I was in. I wasn't the rabbi of the shul, and it was horrible. I mean, he was taking literally twice as long to daven as the regular the davening. And some people were complaining and all. And I contacted the rabbi of the shul, and I said, and he didn't daven Mondays and Thursdays. He didn't want to deal with tachanun. So I said, Monday and Thursday I'm going to daven the shul. Other days I can't. I can't daven there anymore because I'm not focusing on my davening. I'm focusing on what he's doing to us that caused me to come. And it's not like those extra 10 minutes killed my day. Trust me, I can waste those 10 minutes anytime, any part of the day I want to. But someone's doing it for me, and I didn't want to do that. So I talked to the Rav. Evidently, I'm not the only person that's, and not, you have to also know how to make a complaint. And he said he'll deal with it. And he didn't at first. And then I guess a few other people did. And then he finally did talk to this individual. And I know when he has yard site, if I'm in that particular shul, and I don't go to the shul that day when he has yard site, protect myself. But there's a way to do it. You go through I'd say chain of command because that doesn't sound good. But to do it, instead of complaining to yourself or to others, which makes it also another isur d'oraita, is called lashon hara, unless there's going to benefit to be gained by it. Talk to the gabbai, talk to the Rav, talk to a friend of his, and that can help too.
But if you are a friend of his,
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to know you're the one to talk to the gabbai.
Oh, so you still talk to the gabbai?
I would still talk to the gabbai instead. I would try to distance myself from any confrontation that would hurt a relationship based on Judaism. I just think let somebody else deal with it. And it's a very similar situation where I've had many, many times with parents or spouses who want to tell their child something, or want to tell their spouse something, but it's hard for them to say it, or that won't be accepted. And the same thing being said by an outsider will be accepted. So they'll ask what I do. I said, if you want, with your permission, and I'll tell them, I'm saying I'll talk to your spouse or your child, and I'll say these things on your behalf. And 99% of the time it's accepted because it's coming not with the baggage, it's not coming with the background. So the same thing here. This is not off topic. No, I said that. No. It depends on the situation. That's also a very good question. Depends on the situation. If it's where the parent or the husband or the wife says, I want you to talk, and I'm telling my listen to, Rev Zev wants to talk to you, or Zev Shannon wants to, whatever it might be, and he goes over to talk, then they know that I'm there. Sometimes it's kind of a person I might have a relationship with already, and I'll put just kind of slide something into a conversation and get right out of it. It also is how it works sometimes with parenting. There's certain things you say to your child head on, some things you have to go roundabout. It depends on the child. So it's interesting dynamics. But again, this is this Mishnah. That's this line in the Mishnah. This is nothing I've said so far has been a digression because we're talking about kavod for your friend. Again, for everybody you have to pray. If you have anybody, and everyone's a reya, everyone's a friend. Short parenthetical statement, the word reya, reish ayin, is ra, means bad. So how is it that, and sameach samach re'im ha'ahuvim, in the Sheva Brachot, the re'im, we call people re'im, zed dodi ve'zeh re'i, says in Shir Shirim. How can the word ra mean your friend? How can the word Ra mean your beloved? So I'll leave that for your own. You can always chat GPT or you can call me. So it's not surprising when Chazal tell us a very, very strong statement. It's found in the Gemara, it's found in Midrash, it's found in a few places, which says as follows: Kol hamalbin pnei chavero shel adam shu kasher miYisrael birabim. Someone who publicly embarrasses a person in public. Publicly embarrasses in public. Where would you do it in private? Someone who publicly embarrasses an individual. Adam kasher, a good person. Not in Russia. It's very hard to find a Russia for the most part, based on most categories. Ein lo chelek l'olam haba. He has no portion in the world to come. I get up. I'll tell you a true story. It happened when now it tells you what kind of impact things happen when you're a child. Something called Girsa de Yankuta, which means the version of when you were a child. What does that mean? This is a digression for a second. Let's say you learned Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'haaretz means Hashem created the heaven and the moon on day one, and the next day he created the sun. Okay. Let's say you learned, and you learned it that way. You learned it that way for a year or two, and then as you get older, you say, "No, that's not what it means. At the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." You know how long it takes you to get that out of your head, which you learned as a child? You have to unlearn it. But when you're an adult and you learn something wrong, it's easy to unlearn it and relearn it. It's much easier because what you learn. I've said this before. I've had many kids, adults, who said to me over the years, and I know where they went to school and where they got this from, that you can't write in your hand because it's a tattoo. It's usher from the Torah. So you crazy. I know where you went to school. No, you can't. That's because teachers didn't want you to write in your hand. They made up some rule, but those things stick with you. Anyways, so we moved to the shul. I was 11. So 10 years old. The night of Slichot. There was a Motzei Shabbat, Ashkenazi Slichot, starting on Motzei Shabbat. The rabbi of the shul where I was a kid, davening before I moved to the shul where I eventually davened and became the rabbi, stood up in shul, and he started talking about the Baal Tokea, the person who blows the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And he's sitting in the shul. The Baal Tokea himself is sitting in the shul. And he starts saying he obviously doesn't know how to blow very well, and he can come to me for lessons. I can picture it in my head. He stood up, walked out of the shul, walked to the other shul where I then moved to about a few months later, and he came in with a checkbook. He wrote a check for dues and became a member of the shul that night. Walked right. Yeah, yeah, and there was a huge hullabaloo as a result of that. He knew. He saw it was like front and center almost. I don't know, but I'm telling you, it's not like, I heard from. I saw and heard my own eyes. Now, those kind of things. That was this idea of why would he do something like in public? By the way, that's not the first or the last time I've known stories where rabbis insulted their congregants right there in front of them in the shul. It's horrible. By the way, forget rabbi, anybody, right? Imagine I say something about Rhonda here right now and embarrass her in public. It'd be horrible. I would never. I'd only do that for you. I only do it private, right? When I talk to you. So, what does it mean, kol malbin? I'm sure some of you have heard this before. Kol malbin. Whoever whitens the face of somebody does not have a chelek in olam haba. What happens when a person is publicly humiliated? A couple things could happen. Could turn beet red, or the blood drains from their face. It goes both ways, depending on, I don't know, the science of it. But how Malbin's word lavan, you turn a person's face white out of embarrassment, then it's you killed that person. You withdrew the blood from their face. Ki hadam hu nefesh. It says the blood is their soul. Right? Where is our soul located? Well, actually, I heard once, I never saw the source, the tip of your nose, but I don't know why. But our soul is in our blood. The Torah itself says, Ki adam hu nefesh, that the blood is a neshama. So when you kill somebody, God forbid, when a person gets killed, when their blood is taken, you've taken that person's neshama away from them, not just in the spiritual sense, but almost in the physical sense, because you remove the blood from their body. So therefore, that person, as midah keneged midah, measure for measure, deserves not to be in olam haba. You took someone's life. The implication of all this is to understand how important kavod is, and respect and honor for your friend and everybody by extension, how important that is in the eyes of Hashem. It's not just, it's the wrong thing to do. It's not wrong for me to embarrass somebody. It's not wrong for me to, it's not just wrong for me to talk lashon hara about somebody. It's anathema to what Hashem wants for us in this world. It's built in respect. How do I know? Derech eretz kodma leTorah. Respect for a fellow human being. I'll say qualified to Jews in this particular case, even though you have to respect all people, except certain segments of the world, comes before Torah. You have to make sure. That's why, what is it? Rav Shlomo Aviner has many, he does all these little very short Shelot and Shuvot responsive question and answer, like, and he's constantly, he does thousands of them a week, literally thousands. And before Pesach, he says it's like a stream, just doesn't stop. But he also injects a lot of humor into his responses. And one of the favorite ones I have is I probably mentioned this in some class. Is a guy. Now, there's some people who believe that you don't, who hold and believe that on Shabbat you don't fold your talit after davening in the morning because you're not supposed to fold something on a crease, and also you're preparing it for after Shabbat, whatever the reason might be. And the additional step of that is that it's a skula to do that, and then to fold it Motzei Shabbat after Mariv. It's a beneficial, efficacious spiritual action. How's those for fancy words? So someone wrote a question to Rav Aviner, and I've seen it in more than one place. Is it it's supposed to be also for Shalom Bayit. So they wrote the question to Rav Aviner, is it true that if I fold my talit Motzei Shabbat after davening, that it's a skula for Shalom Bayit? He says, no, it's not. What is a skula is you come home right after Marv, you roll your sleeves up, and you help clean the house. That's, yeah, right, and wash the dishes. And that's the skula for Shalom Bayit. Whether you like his stuff or you don't like his stuff, I know there's a mixed bag on it, but he's got a good sense of humor in there. He also said something about once someone said that they wanted to eat a certain food because the gematria, they want to do a certain thing because the gematria of that act was the same thing as Mechiat Amalek, of wiping out Amalek. He says it's also the same gematria of falafel and Ben Yehuda. So like he doesn't hold a lot from gematria. Anyways, so what happens is that it's so powerful, this negativity of how you honor or dishonor somebody, disrespect somebody, that a person in the theory could lose their share in the world to come. Imagine you have somebody who's a good person, they're a nice individual, they're a respected individual, they're top in their field, whatever it might be, and then they do something horrifically bad. Okay? Put aside a second the lack of respect for someone. Let's just say they do something really bad. They're caught embezzling. They're caught, whatever they might do. It has a tremendous impact on their community and their family and all. Now, imagine if that person does something that embarrasses an individual publicly. You are in the audience. Like how you like this cringe factor. It's like you want to get up, just slap the individual. It's not fun. It's not a good position, and it's so strong that's why a person could lose their position in the world to come, even though they may have done all kinds of great things. Doesn't mean they're not getting a reward for the good stuff. Keep that in mind. It's really important to know the way Hashem works. It's not a balance system. Hashem says you did 300 mitzvot today, you did one bad thing, so now you're only down to 299. It doesn't work that way. It's not an offset. In Hebrew, the word for offset is, it's a good word to know. Kizuz, the kazez, lamed kuv zayin zayin, the kazez or kizuz is an offset. So if you have 200, you have 300 things, you take away one because you have one bad thing, now it's down to 299. That offset is called kizuz in Hebrew. You'll see it sometimes on bills and stuff. There's some other places. Anyways, where was I going with this? So reward. Thank you. Someone's got to remember what I'm saying. Yes, you get an extra point on the final. So what's that? Kizuz, yeah, very good. So I forgot the words. Something. Hashem doesn't overlook the reward for anything. Meaning, if you did 300 good things and one bad thing, so you can do tshuva on the bad thing, and it goes away, right? You don't even get the punishment you should have gotten, or it diminishes it. The 300 good things you did, you're going to get your reward. Hashem will never offset something you did well, or a mitzvah you did ever. Your reward might be in this world instead of the world to come. It may be a little bit less than the world, but you're going to get reward for it. We know it from Achav. Who was it? Who lived 22 extra? Who was king for 22 years? I can't keep this in my head. He was king for 22 years. He was a horrible individual. It's like, why was he? Because he was able to reestablish the Torah because it was found and I remember the whole. Yeah, Achav, right. But I'm trying to remember if it was Achav or not. But that he was king for 20 years because he reestablished the Torah, even though he was a horrible person. So on behalf of the 22 letters of the alphabet, he got 22 years to be the king. So again, one way or another, don't look at me. To talk to Rashi and the Radak and other fancy individuals. But the last sentence in this phrase in this Mishnah talks about the kavod for your Rav. Let's make real clear what kind of Rav we're talking about. This last one does not talk about Rav Aviner. It doesn't talk about me. It doesn't talk about Rav Shlomo Aviner. It doesn't talk. It talks. I mean, potentially could be, but 99% of the time, it's not talking about that type of Rav. We're talking about the type of Rav called the Rav Muvhak, and I mentioned this last week. Let me see if I copied something down. Yeah. What is a Rav Muvhak? I don't know the word in English for it. No. Bohak, which was just in Parshat Shavua, in Parshat Mitzorah, Bohaku, splendorous or shining, or I don't know, but the unlit, there's no such word unliteral. The non-literal translation means you're a unique teacher. What does that mean? Mishnah Berurah says, what does it mean? Sharov chochmato hemenu o gedol hador. That a person who, let's say a person had a teacher, that they learned the vast majority of their Torah. They learned Torah, Navi, Mishne, Gemara, Halacha, from one person, one Rav. That person has a din of Rav Muvhak. It's not that common nowadays, but it used to be fairly common. You had one Rav in the city, and he taught the Cheder, and he taught to this, right, exactly, your grandfather. But a Rav Muvhak from many, many people, that's correct. And so that type of person would be the person who this halacha we're about to talk about, these ideas we're talking about. Like, for example, if you have your father lost something and your Rav Muvhak lost something, you have a responsibility to return your lost object to your Rav first before your father, unless your father is also Talmid Chacham and your Rav Muvhak. Right. So, and also if they're both captives, you have to redeem your Rav Muvhak before. And the reason behind it would be, in theory, is because your father brought you into Olam Hazeh and your Rav Muvhak brings you into Olam Haba, the eternal reward. Whether you like it or not, okay. But there's an additional statement that I just kind of glanced over. The Mishnah Berurah says is, by the way, it's not pronounced Gadol. Everyone says Gadol Hador, the greatest person of the generation, right? The greatest rabbi. It's Gidol Hador. It's smichut. It means of the greatest of the generation. Like, for example, you don't say Cheder Ochel, you say Chadar Ochel. It means the room of eating. It's called smichut, or possessive in Hebrew. There's no apostrophe s, but that works as an apostrophe s. So he says also the Gedol Hador. Who is the greatest Rav of the generation? So it depends on who you ask nowadays. If you go back to before 1986, Rav Moshe died 86. Yeah, I think it was 86. He was a Gedol Hador. Everyone agreed, with few exceptions. He was the one. He was the Gedol Hador. Rav Soloveitchik was not considered Gedol Hador. No, because he wasn't a posek. He taught, but he wasn't a posek. He was be considered probably one of the people did the most for designing of teaching and professing and promulgating all these fancy words of Torah, but he was not looked at as a posek in halacha per se, like Rav Moshe. No, he didn't write Shelot and Shuvot and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to diminish him. He was a brilliant genius, obviously, like almost everyone with that last name. But I remember the day after he died. He died on Tanis Esther. And it was the day after, 2 days after he died, I remember thinking, we don't have a Gadol Hador. We don't have anybody. Because how is it going to be ever again? There's going to be somebody everyone agrees on. And unfortunately, I was right. There are many great Gedolim. Many. Big, a single person? No. that basically the whole world agrees on? No, there are people who live since who everyone agreed is great. But besides, let's say it's Rabbi Yashiv, right? Or Rabbi so-and-so, that everyone says, wow, they're fantastic. But we also have him. We have to deal with, you know what I'm saying? It's not a single individual. And it hasn't been since that I can see since Rav Moshe. I will tell you what's that? I don't know if it's negative or positive. I'm not sure. I personally, feet to the fire, I'd say it's a negative. Yeah, I think it's a negative. But I will tell you, I was going to say that, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so what's that? Rav Uvhak, I'm coming back to that one. So it's only these rules that we're going to talk about, or this Mishnah, this last line, according to Mishnah Berurah, actually applies both to your Rav Uvhak and the Gedol Hador. The problem with not having a single voice that overarch over everybody is it still leads to what are called gidudim, like little groups that be little, like everyone follows Yashiv on this, and everyone follows the Chazon Ish on this, and you start splitting up, which is fine. By the way, at Pi Halacha, that's perfectly fine, right? But you don't have someone says, I'm making up something now. On Tuesday afternoon, everyone has to sit and learn 2 psukim. That's the halakha. We go right, and then no, we don't. It should be 3 psukim. It should be 1 pasuk. It should be pasuk and Rashi. Where Moshe said it, vast majority of the time, that was the rule. And yes, people then come over after the later generations who didn't know Rav Moshe, and then they start, well, he was a little makel on this, and the Jews. But it's what we have, Baruch Hashem. But again, if Rav Moshe, if we go back to the 80s, and my father lost something, and Rav Moshe lost something, they both happened to mention to me, I'd go looking for Rav Moshe stuff right away. And by the way, my dad would say, go for it. No question about it. Unless it was something important to know.
But it must say, I don't know how many times in the Torah,
very good. That's correct. And the point is that the kavod for your Rav Muvhak overrides that. Why? No, wait. The Gemara asked the question you asked.
And where?
But the Gemara asked the question you just asked. Why? The answer is, I just told you before, that your father brought you to this world, and your Rav Muvhak brings you to this world and also to the next world. That's what's not right?
Clearly says in any, I don't know, 5-10 times.
Right. It also doesn't say you can't write on Shabbat, but it is though, right?
But it does. Well,
I'm just saying that we learn. How do we know? Because it's a smichut parshiyot. The whole idea of the building the Mishkan is next to Shabbat, so we learn up to 39 things. So right, but does not Torah Banan. It's still right. Does though.
It's a derivative of something,
directly from the Torah.
Okay.
As opposed to the next step, you're going to be nasty and say what?
What?
No, not you. Her.
No.
She said she's going to be nasty. I didn't say that. Chas v'shalom.
When you say that, to me, if I open the Tanakh
Yes.
and I see it written, then it's there. But to say that you can derive it from that.
Okay, big time out there. You're professing the approach of the Karaites. No, that's what exactly the Karaites say.
I realize that.
Like, if I were to tell you, open the Tanakh, tell me how to keep Shabbat, how to build a sukkah, what is a shofar, what are tzitzit, you can't. That's the whole point of Torah Shebe'al Peh. Torah Shebe'al Peh goes hand in hand with Torah Shebichtav. What we're learning in Pirke Avot, it's Torah Shebe'al Peh, it's Mishnah. Okay? But when we talk about halakha, we talk about open the Shulchan Aruch, right? We talk about the fact that on Shabbat we have the 39 malachot, or to get a shofar it has to be such and such an animal, and make tefillin it has to be such and such, it has to be black. It's not in one book. You're 100% right, but it's part of the Deoraita level. Correct. When the Chachamim, for example, I just had this discussion with a kid. Kid is, how old was it just the other day? Oh, he's 12. And I asked him like one of these throwaway questions to see how he'd react. I said, so we could talk about brachot. I said, Tov. Okay, so we go like the Hanukkah lights. I said, why do we lie every time we light the Hanukkah lights? He says, what do you mean? I said, because you say, Hashem commanded us to light the lights. But he didn't. It's not in the Torah. It's not in Torah Shebichtav, not Torah Shebal Peh. So how do we say? That's not an original question. Gemara Masechet Shabbat Kaf Bet Amud Aleph said, I just looked at the other day, said, Vehechan Tzivanu. Where does Hashem command us? How do we say that? Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav. He invested us with Kedusha and Tzivanu, and he commanded us, Alik Ner Shel Chanukah. Same thing with Purim. Same thing with any other mitzvah that we do that's D'Rabbanan. Why can we say that? So the answer is, the pasuk also says that we have a mitzvah to listen to the Chachamim, who said that there's a mitzvah of X, and the mitzvah to listen to the Chachamim says, Lo tasur mimenu yaminu small. We can't veer to the right or to the left. What the Chachamim teach us, that's what we have to do. Correct. So when it says, Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, the v'tzivanu means Hashem commanded us to listen to the Chachamim, l'hadlik ner shel Chanukah. That's what it means. So that's the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat that deals with this. So there are levels of D'Oraita, things that come from the Torah. There are levels of D'Rabbanan, things that the rabbis instituted. Don't say made up, because I hear that too much. The rabbis make everything up. I've heard that from too many people. Well, sometimes they're right, but rarely. But what's the difference? Think about it for a second. What's the practical difference between if it's D'Oraita or D'Rabbanan? So the difference comes when there's a safek, when there's a doubt. Let's say, for example, there's only two brachot. Sorry for this digression, but it's important. There are two brachot only from the Torah. They are Birkat HaMazon, benching, and Birchot HaTorah, we say in the morning, Asher Kitsham Tzav Tivanu, or Al Divrei Torah, or Lasok B'Divrei Torah, depending on your Nusach. That's it. Everything else was instituted by the rabbis. Let's say I ate a meal with bread, and I don't remember, did I bench or not? Do I have to bench? Do I have to still bench if I'm not sure? So now it depends. Listen to the words of the pasuk. It says v'achalta, not v'achalta. V'achalta, you ate. V'savata, and you were full. Uverachta, and they said the benching, right? What is the criterion for having to bench from a Torah level obligation? V'savata, you're full. What if I had a sandwich? I'm not full. I still would like to eat more, but I'm done. And I walk away, there's a did I bench or not? So if I'm not full, I'm only obligated to bench B'Rabbanan on a rabbinic level. And now it's a safek or a doubt of a rabbinic level. I don't bench. If I'm full, and I'm not sure did I bench or not, but I'm full, now it's a safek, a doubt about a Torah level obligation. I bench. If you're not sure in general, those exception those two brachot. Let's say you took a cookie, you said, I say myself or not? You don't make a bracha. Because it's always going to be a safek d'Rabbanan, or a doubt at a rabbinic level. So it makes a difference in the idea of whether or not you take action or not in the safek, which is one of the reasons that you need to know something is d'Rabbanan or d'Oraita. There are other areas where it makes a difference too, whether it comes to Shabbat, it comes to where you can be a little bit more makil or lenient in certain areas of halacha when someone needs certain things done. So it's all kind of interesting stuff. What I want to do is, Bezrat Hashem, next week, we'll talk about the Rav Muvhak and the relationship to the Rav Muvhak or Gedol Hador. And I think we leave this off the question. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of thinking about this. What if I picture this Rav as to me, he's the Gedol Hador, right? So now I would think I'd have to relate to him as the Gedol Hador and have to do whatever it says in these halachot. Or does it have to be the recognized Gedol Hador? I don't know. But we'll talk about that, and we'll get to the next Mishne, which is actually a fun Mishne, because it sounds like it makes no sense. Okay, have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.